3, the first thing that we can talk about is what's known as a posteriori. A posteriori, right? If we say that something is a posteriori, that means that in order to determine the truth functionality of the proposition, right, it needs to be determined within experience. So a posteriori claims require, or they send the observer into experience for justification, right? So that we say a posteriori claims are sort of counter to what's known as a priori. And we say that a priori claims are independent to experience. And we say that a posteriori claims are dependent. So we say that a priori claims are independent to experience and, excuse me, okay, we say that a posteriori claims are dependent to experience. And what the question is, well, what is dependent to experience? What is independent to experience? Well, the truth, right? The truth of your proposition, the truth of the truth of your proposition is dependent to experience. The truth of your proposition is independent to experience. Remember, we said that, well, before I tie this in, the question is how can we relate this to the other 2 points? How do we relate a posteriori claims to either synthetic or analytic, and how do we relate a priori claims to either synthetic or analytic? So the cat is on the mat. We said it was a synthetic proposition. Why? Because it required observation in order for the observer to assess truth functionality. Right? So in order for me to assess truth functionality, I had to check whether or not the cat is on the mat. If the cat is on the mat, then I realize that it's true. Now, is that dependent or independent to experience? Well, clearly it would have to be dependent, right? It's dependent. I need to be able to experience this phenomena in order to be able to assess that. So that the first thing that we can recognize is that we can make the next claim, and it's sort of a technical claim, but it should make sense now, that all synthetic propositions are a posteriori as well, right? So all synthetic propositions, all synthetic propositions are a posteriori, right? Also, and this is according to Hume, obviously. So all synthetic propositions are a posteriori, and then conversely, well, before I get into the next analysis, let's look at a priori. A priori propositions, this says that the truth of this is independent to experience. I don't have to verify the truth of this claim in experience. I can verify it outside of experience, right? Independent. Well, we remembered in the example of the analytic claim, a bachelor is an unmarried man. Remember in my example of Bob, you don't need to go to Bob and ask Bob whether or not he's unmarried and therefore he's a bachelor. You know by the very definition, the use of the term bachelor, that he is unmarried, or the use of the term unmarried, that he is a bachelor. Right? We said that that's tautological and that you don't need to verify this in experience. Well, that is what it means to be independent. The truth of it is independent to experience. It doesn't require experience. So that we can then make the claim, the converse claim, that all analytic propositions are a priori. Right? So all analytic propositions, P-R-O-P-O-S-I-T, propositions are analytic, or a priori. Right? So that all analytic propositions are a priori, right? They're independent to experience. A bachelor is an unmarried man is independent to experience. I don't need to verify that. A brother is a sibling by definition, right? A sister is a sibling by definition. I don't need to verify that, right? To be a sibling is to be either a brother or a sister. these are analytic claims and they're a priori, meaning that the truth of the claim is assessed prior, really, to experience, but the technical way that it's defined is independent to experience, whereas synthetic claims, a posteriori claims, are dependent. Okay, now to construct the actual fork. So now that we have all of the concepts down, we can make better sense of how to construct Hume's fork. All right. All right, so basically this is how the fork is constructed. First, we put the synthetic claims here, S-Y-N-T-H-E-T-I-C. Then we put analytic claims here. Right? Synthetic claims here, analytic claims here. And we recognize from what was said that all synthetic claims are going to be what? Well, the only options that we have are a priori or a posteriori. Synthetic claims, would they be a priori or would they be a posteriori? Well, synthetic claims would have to be a posteriori, right? A-P-O-S-T-E-R-T-E-R-O-R-I. So synthetic claims are a posteriori and analytic claims are a priori. And analytic claims are a priori. So, and the examples that I gave, the cat is on the mat, and then a bachelor is an unmarried man. Now, that actually concludes the discussion of Hume's fork, but what I'm going to do is give a prelude into sort of Immanuel Kant's contribution, because what Immanuel Kant realized is that Hume was missing something, right? And what Immanuel Kant argued for is what's known as the synthetic a priori, which you can see based on what I'm doing right now is a little bit of both, right? Kant said, listen, it's not just about being synthetic and a priori, but I can give you the conditions of what's known, what he describes as technically the synthetic a priori. Kant wouldn't be able to talk about the synthetic a priori without Hume's initial discussion of his fork. So that Hume's fork became what Kant said, and this is a quote, he said, it wasn't until reading David Hume that he was awoken from his dogmatic slumber, right? And after reading Hume, Kant realized that, listen, hey, there's something that Hume missed. He made a huge contribution, but we can talk about the synthetic a priori. So with respect to the synthetic a priori, what might that look like, right? Well, the first thing that we realized is that part of the synthetic a priori must be based in experience, right? It's experiential. This is the experiential part, right? Because it's synthetic, right? The claim is a claim which can be verified in experience. The cat is on the mat. Okay. However, there's an a priori port, right? And the a priori port exists independent to experience. So this seems like a contradiction, right? According to Hume, Hume would say, well, I mean, if Hume were able to actually read what Kant said, he might agree with Kant, but Hume on his own account would say this is ridiculous, right? How can you have something which is based on experience and also make the claim that it is independent to experience? How can you have a part being synthetic, the cat is on the mat, which requires observation in order to determine truth functionality, but also make the claim that it's independent to experience? Well, Kant does it pretty geniusly, and I'm not going to go into the full discussion of how Kant does it. I'll just draw a simple picture.